Microsoft Word, and it looks like this. And what I need you to do before we get started is take this handout and put it somewhere where you can write on it. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to take this and maybe put it in your Google Drive and then save it as a Google Doc so that you can write on it. This is called identifying elements, compounds, and mixtures. So I'm going to show you those things right now, and then you can fill out the chart as we go. We're trying to figure out if the item is an element, a compound, or a mixture. So, what is a element, compound, or mixture? Well, we take a look at the handout, and we'll make it a little bit bigger for you. Over here, it says, I got to move zoom out of the way. You have to made up of, an element is made up of one kind of atom, and it's the atom that's found on the periodic table, and that's why it's called the periodic table of elements. So anything on the periodic table is an element. So carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, those are basic ones. Phosphorus, potassium, cesium, rubidium, all of these are elements. Okay, over 100 different elements, but if you have a sample made up of one kind of atom, that's called an element. Can't separate these atoms, or you can't separate the thing that you're looking at, the sample, cannot be separated into smaller parts that are different, because all of those atoms are the same, one kind of atom. Right, so can't do it chemically or physically. Obviously, if you have a piece, you can break the piece off, but all those pieces will still be considered that element. All right, a compound is made up of two or more atoms chemically combined in a certain ratio. Our best example is water. Water is 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. That's H2O. H2O is made up of 2 hydrogens and an oxygen, but together that molecule is called water. Water has certain properties, right? But the hydrogen and oxygen are chemically combined, and it's always 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. You knock off a hydrogen, you have something else called a hydroxide ion. That's not water. That's a little bit different. Not a little bit different, it's a lot different. Okay, all right, and you have the third thing, it's a mixture. It says a mixture is 2 more elements or compounds mixed together physically. And these are not chemically combined. Each part keeps its own chemical identity. So you can separate them out somehow, but if you were looking at it and it looked like it was one uniform thing, we call that homogeneous. So we have a homogeneous mixture. But if you can look at it and it looks like it has different parts, those are called, that's called a heterogeneous mixture. A heterogeneous mixture would have different parts that you could physically separate by looking at them and pushing one to the left and one to the right. Okay, so that's a heterogeneous mixture and a homogeneous mixture. All right, so what we're gonna do is, come on in. What you're gonna do is you're gonna have this table, right? Actually, before we get to the table, here are the, hi, how are you?
Good, how about you?
All right, good. All right. So if you take a look at the handout, this is about the materials and methods. Here is a reminder when you do your lab report to include the results in your table. And you should have observations, 3 observations of the substance and meaningful reason for your classification. So you're going to tell us how or why you classified the object as you did. And then over here, here's some questions you're going to add to the discussion. Over here it says concluding paragraph. After you answer these 5 questions, what you're going to do is you're going to write a concluding paragraph. Be sure to include the main points, the hypothesis, discrepancies, which are problems, and you have likes and dislikes, and then suggestion for improvement. So you are going to write a lab report this time, but the laboratory is fairly easy. We're going to see, and we're going to try to do some of this together. So let's go over here and let me reduce the size of it so we can see more of what's going on. You should have this available right now because I'm going to switch to my camera, and then we won't be able to see won't be able to see this table together, but you'll have the table. I suggest that maybe you split your screen and put your copy of this table on one part of the screen, and then the other side, the other half of your screen, you might have Zoom still open. Or if you have a printer handy, you could print it out right now, and then you can just do it on paper. To turn it in, you would take a photo of your paper, which will result in a JPEG, and you could do it that way as well. That's probably not the preferred way. Probably if you could do it electronically, that would be much better. All right, so I have a list of items right here, and since I'm going to be away from this list, I won't be able to see it. I'm going to write the numbers down because, like I said, I won't be able to see it. So you got number 1 is oil and water. You got 2 is copper. 3 is is some chalk. 4 you got rocks and sand. All right. 5 is water. 6 is Gatorade. 7 is aluminum foil. 8 is air in a balloon. 9 is sulfur, and 10 is some minerals. Okay, so now I have all this, wrote it down, but you should be able to see it still. Okay, so let me switch over and get out of screen share. And then we're gonna go to my document camera because I have all of these available for you to take a look at. So let's go here and there and do that. All right, so here I am at my desk. The first one is oil and water. So I made this for you earlier today. The bottle, it's got oil and water in it. Mix it up. See on the small screen. You see there's the oil and water. You can see I mixed it up, but it's already starting to separate with the oil coming on the top, and the water, which is more dense, is going to the bottom. The new fancy waterless urinals work this way, because what will happen is, see, the oil's floating inside the urinal. There's some oil, and then when you make your deposit, it goes under that layer of oil, and that's what happens in a waterless urinal. Okay, so what do you think? Oil and water, do they mix? And you can see that I shook it up, but now it's coming back, and you're getting 2 layers, layer of oil and water. So is this an element, a compound, or mixture? If you think it's an element, go ahead and let's do sign language. This is the letter E. Okay, no, that's E, that's A, and that's E. So this is the letter E for elements. This is C for compounds, and then here's the letter M. Three fingers over your hand. That's M. So give us some sign language. What do you think? This thing right here, oil and water. Is this an element, a compound, or a mixture? And remember, a mixture, if it looks like one thing, it's a homogeneous mixture. But if it separates out into 2 different things, and it's still a mixture, but it's a heterogeneous. Hetero means different, homo means the same. What do you think? Is this an element? Yes or no? No, no, yes, yes? No, I'm getting some no's. Okay, so this is not an element. Do you think it's a compound? This oil and water mix, ooh, oil and water together? I was about to say oil and water mixture. And so it's a mixture, right? And so it's a mixture, but it's not mixing up real well. It keeps coming back out. And so it doesn't look like one homogeneous mixture. It's actually a heterogeneous mixture. So when you go to your chart, you can say mixture. So here's an M. You can say it's an M, but it is, it's not a homogeneous mixture, it's a heterogeneous mixture. Okay, so that's the first one, that's oil. I have some other things in Petri dishes. Let's see. The next one is copper wire. Out. So I can see what we're looking at. Here's the copper wire right there. Okay. And this is wire. What kind of wire is this? It's copper. And so it is made, this wire is made up of the metal copper, and it only has copper in it. So do you think this is an element, compound, and mixture? Go ahead and put your guess. Well, it doesn't have to be a guess, your answer in the right place. Is it an element? Is it a compound? Or is it a mixture? And this is found on the periodic table of elements. So since copper, yes, it's an element. Okay, so if you gave me the ASL for an element, like Nehemiah did, good job, Nehemiah, then you know it is an element. So copper. Woo-hoo! Tell your mom you did good. All right, let's go to the next one. 3, it's a piece of chalk. I actually have a chalkboard behind me, and right over there where you see the Star Wars, well, you can't see the Star Wars poster. Why not? What's in the way? What is this? Oh, it's my light. I'll move it out of the way. See, it's a Star Wars poster right here that has a thin white plastic sheet on it, like almost a trash bag. Underneath that is a real chalkboard, because my home school, my in-person school, is the second oldest school in the San Fernando Valley, in the northern part of Los Angeles. Isn't that crazy? Over 100 years old, so we still have a chalkboard. I'm actually getting a Prometheum board, which is an electronic smart board, which is funny, but because I still have a chalkboard and a whiteboard, and now I'm getting a Prometheum board. Okay, so we're done with the copper. I'll take this out of the way, and we're going to chalk. So pieces of chalk are made up of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is the same thing that seashells are made out of. You know, like the clam shell or an oyster shell is made up of calcium carbonate. Calcium is Ca, and carbonate is CO3. So CaCO3. Well, do you think that chalk is made up of one element, or is it a compound, or is it a mixture? Are you ready to vote? Ready? Remember, you can do element, you can do compound, or you can do mixture. So ready, set, vote. What is this stuff called chalk? What is it? Is it an element? Is it a compound? Or is it a mixture? No one wants to vote. Don't want to be wrong on camera, huh? I'm wrong on camera all the time. Got it? Do you have a vote? Do you know? Okay. I'm going to tell you that the symbols for calcium are Ca, and in carbonate is carbon and oxygen. So CaCO3. So it's made up of 3 different elements that are chemically bonded together. So CaCO3, calcium carbonate, also known as chalk, is not an element, it's a compound. Okay, so we now have chalk as a compound. All right, let's go to another one. Here's, went to Newport Beach this summer, and so here's some sand and some smaller rocks and even some shells in there. Okay, do you see any differences in the items there? Are they all the same or are they a little bit different? Could you pick stuff out? And if you can pick stuff out, then you know it's a mixture. So is this a compound or an element, or is this a mixture? And hopefully you can vote and know the answer. Compound, mixture, or an element. What do you think? Okay. Somebody vote so I can know. Is this a compound, an element, or a mixture? It's a petri dish full of sand from Newport Beach. Oh, someone's voting. No? Oh. You might, I thought you were going to vote. Is this a compound?
It's probably a mixture.
It's a mixture? Know what you said, Nathan?
I think it's a mixture. That's what I would think.
Okay, all right. Is he right, you guys? Is it a compound? Is it, yeah. Nehemiah, is that an M or is that a C? Out an M. Your M's look like my M's a little bit. I think it's a mixture, and I think it's a heterogeneous mixture because you can pick stuff out. You can pick out this little black thing. You can pick out the shell. You have white pieces of quartz that you can take out. You have feldspar, which is kind of the brown stuff. So there's all in this sand mixture. You have all kinds of different things that you could pick out. So number 4, rock and sand. Here's number 5. Number 5 is water. And water was one of the examples in the chart that I showed you at the very, very beginning. So is water an element, or is water a compound, or is water a mixture? This one you should know. Okay, ready, set, vote. It's a compound, that's right. It's made up of hydrogen and oxygen. So this is a compound, it's water. Okay, good deal, you guys. You got that one pretty quick. All right, so here's a teeny tiny bottle of Gatorade. Is Gatorade's like water, isn't it? So is Gatorade a compound? I don't think so either. What do you think it is? Is Gatorade an element? Is there Gatorade on the periodic table of elements? Does it go hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and Gatorade? I don't think so. But Rebecca, what are you showing me? Yeah, good. You drank your water today. Okay, so is it a mixture then? Because that's all that's left. And is it a mixture that looks the same throughout? Or is it different? And so if it's the same throughout, it's a homogeneous mixture. If it's different, then it's a heterogeneous mixture. So you think this is homo or hetero? What do you think? Homo is a 1 finger, hetero is 2, right? Here we go, ready? Homo is 1, hetero is 2. What kind of mixture is this? Ready, set, show. Whoa, you all got it. So this is a homogeneous mixture because it all looks the same. It's all blue there. You can see right there. Kind of bluish. All right, get that out of the way. That is number 6. Here's number 7. Number 7 is foil. It's too shiny. There's the foil like that. Piece of aluminum foil in this petri dish. Has certain characteristics. What kind of foil is this? It's aluminum foil. Is aluminum something found in the periodic table of elements? So is, with hand signals, is aluminum an element, a compound, or a mixture? Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, show it. It is. It's an element, right? So aluminum is an element. That is number 7. All right, number 8. Number 8 is, I blew this up a little while ago. Someone in second period, 9th grader, he's like 6'5", but he acts like a goof. Could I have a balloon? And you're just gonna mess around with it and say, no, I need that for my 3:30 class. That's you guys. So you saved it. I saved this balloon for you. Inside balloon is this balloon is air that came from my lungs. I blew this thing up. Is air an element? Careful, because you hear about the elements, fire and water and air. Are we talking about elements in the periodic table of elements? Do you see air in the periodic table of elements? Is there carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and air? And then here's my poem. Nitrogen is 78, oxygen is 21. All the rest are less than 1. Almost rhymes. But air is made up of different gases, made up of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and then it's got 1% argon, up to 5% water, depending where the air comes from. Got carbon dioxide, which causes a greenhouse effect, which causes global warming. Might have methane, which is another global warming gas. So what do you think? Air is made up of all these different elements. So is air then not an element, but is it a compound or a mixture? What do you think? Compound or mixture, air, compound or mixture. What do you think? Ready, vote in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. It is a, what is it? And some of you are saying a compound, and some of you are saying it is, I don't know. And most of you are saying compound, which is interesting because it's actually a mixture, right? Because you can separate the nitrogen out of the air. You can separate the oxygen out of the air. So it's not a compound, but it's a mixture. It's not an element. Some people say it's an element because, you know, Earth, Wind, and Fire. One of my favorite music groups, right? They say that the elements are the earth and the water and the air and fire. No, that's like old school, you know, astrology and you know, beliefs from the way back past. So air is actually a mixture. So cool. Most of you said compounds, but if you think about it, you can see how it's air. Okay, I just found this piece less than 20 minutes now. About an hour ago, found a piece of sulfur. That's sulfur. Sulfur has a distinct yellow quality, got a smell to it. And so that's sulfur. As you can see, I got little pieces and I got a big piece right there. This whole thing is sulfur. Okay. Is sulfur in the periodic table of elements? Well, and then also, if you take this one piece and cut it into smaller pieces, are these pieces still sulfur? And the answer is, yeah, they are. So these little pieces are still sulfur. This is one big piece of sulfur, but these little pieces are still sulfur. Even if you microscopically cut this into the very, very teeny tiniest piece, that's still sulfur. And if you take that little teeny tiny smallest piece and broke it into atomic pieces, would it still be sulfur? And the answer is, yeah. So is sulfur an element, a compound, or a mixture? Ready to vote? Element, compound, mixture, go. And most of you are saying it's an element, actually. So if you take a look at the periodic table, you'll find sulfur with the capital S. That's sulfur. It's a periodic table. The periodic table of elements. So if you see it in periodic table of elements, you can know that it is an element. The last one is mineral. So I have some mineral rocks that I grabbed up. My geology is not as good as it used to be, so I don't even know what some of these rocks are, but there's granite and feldspar. There's what's that white one? That white one is not quartz, but the name is slipping. But anyway, these are mineral rocks that are made up of certain elements that are stuck together. So you should know that it's not an element. These rock names like gypsum, like schist, these are all names of different rocks, different minerals, but they are not found on the periodic table of elements. Is it a mixture? I guess in this tray I have a mixture of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rocks. And that's not really what I was going for. If you take one of those rocks, let's say that one right there, is it a mixture or is it a compound? And the thing is, these have these chemicals in here are chemically bonded together. So it's not a mixture, but it's not an element either. So this is actually a compound. So yeah, some of you are putting it up there already. It's a compound. It's a compound. Woo, woo, it's a compound. All right, so I think those are our 10, right? So now you know what to do with that table, and you can complete that table on your own in a little bit. Alrighty, let's go